Hello and welcome to another episode of the Bitcoin News Show right here on the World Crypto Network. Thanks you guys so much for joining us again on this Sunday afternoon, our beautiful ritual that we try to do every Sunday talking about Bitcoin. We have a lot of amazing stuff to talk about today. There's some amazing topics. We know we got the CME to talk about. We know that this is the main discussion here we want to bring forth for this episode of the Bitcoin News Show is decentralized exchanges and their importance. There's a lot of stuff to talk about. We have some amazing people to talk about that to you guys today. We have the guests right here. Let's introduce them. We have Mr. Andrew Gazecki, the founder of altcoin.io. Andrew, how you doing?
Good. Great pronunciation of my last name. Lots of people typically butcher that. So happy to be on the show and appreciate the invite.
Absolutely, man. That's why we have a pre-show, so I can make sure I get everybody's names right, at least do the best I can, right? So, all right. So then we got Mr. Carter Thomas from the Coin Mastery YouTube channel. Carter, how you doing?
I am doing great. It's great to be here. Fired up.
Awesome, man. Yeah, excited to get your opinions here on the macro trends, the macro of all of this decentralized exchange talk. Really excited. Then we got Mr. Chris, where's your last name? Mr. Chris Beams from Bisq, the Decentralized Exchange. How you doing, Chris?
Hey, great. Thanks. Thanks for having us.
Yes, really excited to hear about your product today and about the future of decentralized exchanges. Mr. Gabriel D. Vine joining us once again. Gabriel, how are you, sir?
I'm doing wonderful. Actually, my last name is pronounced Sports.
Oh, yes, Gabriel Sports, like Paul Sports. We love having Gabriel back again. We're going to get his opinions, of course, on the importance of decentralized exchanges. But before we go into all of that amazing stuff and all these crazy words like decentralized and censorship resistance and all that good stuff, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the CME. I'm kind of curious. I think this is what's on everybody's mind right now. We have the launch in a few hours, or maybe it launched already. It's supposed to launch today. And, you know, it's got excitement in the air. We got all-time highs that we experienced already today. So I just want to see from the panelists what they're feeling, what they're thinking about this. So maybe let's go with Andrew first here. Andrew from altcoin.io. Like, what is your opinion on the CME launch? And also on, I forget the other guys' names that are launching tomorrow. So we have another announcement. So what is your opinion and take on this?
Yeah, I guess my overall take is it's a great way for, you know, larger institutions to invest into Bitcoin. But I have a concern where they're not actually investing into Bitcoin, but rather speculating on the price of the future of the Bitcoin price. So where Bitcoin's going to go because of that, I'm really not sure. I have the graph kind of watching it 24/7. But overall, I think it's a great thing. I think anything that brings attention to Bitcoin is really what's going to continue to drive the price up and really bring people that aren't typically educated on what Bitcoin is or what it does. And I think the CME futures, at the very least, has definitely brought a lot of attention to the Bitcoin space, and that's always a good thing.
Awesome, man. Great to hear. Great to hear. We see the Bitcoin chart behind you, so we know that you're. We know you must be watching it at least 24/7.
I'm hoping on the show it hits 20K. I'm hoping we can capture that, because once it hits 20K, it's either just going up or down. We'll just have to wait and see.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, let's go. Let's ask Carter his opinions on here. Mr. Carter Thomas from Coin Mastery. What is your thoughts and opinions on the CME launch? Is this good or bad for Bitcoin? Is this exciting? What do you think about this?
I love it. I think it's great. I think that a lot of futures traders are about to get completely wrecked, specifically because the margin requirements for shorting and going long on any sort of contracts are so ridiculous. You know, the 4x or the 400% margin calls that a lot of these guys are probably going to be taking. So I think it's really exciting. I think that it's always great. I think that the more institutions that can get in, the closer we get to the ETFs. So as far as I'm concerned, whatever is necessary to get an ETF approval is a step in the right direction for the overall ecosystem. And I think that this is a very, very important piece of that.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree with you more. You know, after these future markets, it's going to be the ETFs. I tweeted out the other day, the ETFs are coming. And everybody was like, do you have some kind of secret information? And I'm like, No, it's called What the Hell is Happening in the Markets. We got 3 or 4 futures markets launching already. The ETFs is only right around the corner. And when January comes around in 2018 and we look back and we get to see the dust settle a little bit here, we can see the 2,000% increase in Bitcoin and going from from a few billion to over $500 billion. I think a few people are going to want to get a hold of that. I think Wall Street might want to make that its new plaything. And we all know what Wall Street does to markets. They explode them into outer space. So let's go next with Chris. Mr. Chris Beams from Bisq. What is your take on this? We know that you are working on this decentralized exchange. So what are your thoughts on these futures and these CME and the future maybe of this of Bitcoin on Wall Street?
Yeah, well, I have to disclaim my relative ignorance here, really, because while we've built this exchange, we're not what you'd consider professional traders, right, or seasoned traders. So I'm not deeply experienced with the futures markets and so on. So really, like many people, I'm eagerly waiting and watching. We saw what happened with CBOE last week, and well, that certainly didn't seem to hurt the price. I was laughing a moment ago when you were saying, these guys are about to get wrecked. It seems to be a very bad idea to short Bitcoin at this point, and I don't see why that's going to change. Because this comes online, but it's very exciting for many reasons. That's about all I have to say about it.
Absolutely. I mean, I really think this is going to be a great example again of good money pushing out bad money. We're going to see what happens in reality when you put, fiat up against Bitcoin. People are going to get wrecked when they're trying to short Bitcoin. I don't think it's going to be a great idea. You don't want to short this crazy mania that we got going on. Gabriel, I know you got a few thoughts, at least I'm sure, on this and the future perhaps of Bitcoin on Wall Street and in contrast with these decentralized exchanges. What are your thoughts on the CME, Gabriel, of the launch? And then the, I still can't remember the name, maybe the chat can help us out with the other company that's launching futures on Monday. What are your thoughts, Gabriel?
On Monday, the other company, I believe it was the NASDAQ, right?
No,
isn't that who?
It's next year, early next year.
It's TD Ameritrade's going live on Monday.
Oh, of course. TD Ameritrade is not launching their own futures. They're just going to offer the futures on the CME to their clients. They're a broker.
Okay, also
brokerage house.
They also announced on Monday. Yep.
Right. So I actually just kind of pulled back a little bit. I'm keeping my eye on the chat here, and a few people are asking me out there. I know we don't take things down to kind of a beginner level that often. It's a little bit of a insider channel to an extent, but maybe some new viewers would like to welcome you and let you know what's going on a little bit. So the Chicago Mercantile Exchange is a storied institution that's been a commodities trading center for many decades. I believe they were founded in the 19th century, and what this is helping out commodity creators to monetize their produce. So in the case of, for example, cattle head, you're a rancher, you bring your beef to Chicago, and you want to guarantee when you start breeding your foals in April that when you bring them and slaughter them 6 months later, that you're going to be able to get a guaranteed price. And so this is where Andrew went wrong in assuming that futures are all about speculation and gambling. Actually, the speculation and gambling is on the trader's side. They're the ones who find the prices. But really, this is a useful tool. It's a financial tool for commodities producer in the marketplace to lock in prices at a future date, and it enables them to guarantee that they'll be able to make payroll and to have a profitable business while the market finds the most efficient way commodities and facilitate their trade in the market. So 40 years ago was the last time, I believe, commodity was added to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, and these were the gold futures. And so Bitcoin is a very big step for the futures exchange in Chicago, and rumblings among the technorati that Square Cash was one of the players in the market for futures, so that they could guarantee that when they offer, they're sort of a brokerage now because they're offering buying and selling Bitcoin through their, they want to lock in their prices. So there's actually quite a bit, even though exchange is not involved with physical, or so to speak, blockchain delivery of Bitcoin, and it's only cash settled. Nevertheless, that has a very direct, I think it's indirect, but really it's quite a direct influence on the Bitcoin markets, the spot markets, so to speak, which is, you know, commodities. When you actually physically deliver an atom-based commodity like gold or beef or pork bellies, in the case of Bitcoin, the is a blockchain transaction. And what happens is that anybody taking out an offer or making a bet, so to speak, on these Bitcoin future exchanges is going to be hedging their positions with actual Bitcoin. They're going to need to go on the spot exchanges around the world and get a position in Bitcoin, actual Bitcoin, even though these are just cash settled. And so that has a lot of implications, and it's been discussed by, you know, a lot of other people, even on this channel. For example, Richard Hart and Tone Bates had a very interesting conversation about it last week or earlier this week. And so really, it's very difficult to say. As everyone says, they're very curious to see what's going to happen. It's certainly not a situation like with gold futures, for example, on the COMEX. It's relatively trivial to manipulate the prices because both sides of the trade are completely fraudulent. The fiat money can be created out of thin air and printed to create a position on that side, and paper contracts for metal can be created out of thin air on the other side. Paper used to be paper, now it's just digital. You don't even have to go to the printer and print off a certificate. You can make them out of thin air. The naked shorting problem of commodities futures markets and commodities markets by the first digitally scarce asset. So what we have here is a market that's not open 24/7, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, which is going to be trading futures on a product, Bitcoin, which is traded 24/7 every single day. And so you're going to have these massive dislocations. They have stops on their markets. If you've got, you know, a pork bellies market locally, quickly they can do stops, and nobody can trade those pork bellies until the CME starts trading it again. With Bitcoin, you have the situation where you could conceivably have a short squeeze where all the shorts get liquidated, and it keeps stopping up, 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 up. Nobody can trade it. It's freeze up, requiring so much margin. They're requiring people to keep a huge amount of cash on the exchange in the case of this. The problem, it's still not enough. They're requiring only 5 times as much as your position, but it's conceivable that the exchange could be caught out with 30x or 100x or 1000x if they're not careful. So Cliff High's data, which is totally, you know, more like woo-woo, you know, psychic weird stuff, it specifically says that the CME offering cash settled futures in Bitcoin shoot themselves in both feet as a result of offering this product not on a 24/7 basis.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how these exchanges that only trade 9 to 5, right, kind of go up against this 24/7 liquid market that is global. And you know, it's going to take, it is early days as we continue to say, but it's going to be a while before every single major country like London and Japan and everybody has multiple futures, multiple ETFs, so we can have an actual kind of more of a stable market. But of course, at that point, Bitcoin is probably going to be around the $100,000 coin mark. So that kind of thing is coming. But until then, it's just all unprecedented. We're going to have to see what's going to happen. There's a lot of theories and a lot of ideas and things that's going out there. But so far, after the CBOE, everything is looking good, and we'll see what happens after the CME. So very interesting times, guys. Thanks again so much for joining us. We have over 958 viewers right now. So thanks, guys, to all those for joining us. If you guys want to just give us a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new here, hit the subscribe button. We do this show every Sunday live at 12 p.m. Pacific. So I think now we're going to go ahead and go right into, let's go with Chris first. I would like to demo, what I want to do here, guys, is kind of have Chris from Bisq go through his product a little bit, just maybe a 1-minute demo real quick, and then we're going to have Andrew from altcoin.io go over his product a little bit. And what we're going to do just really quickly is demonstrate the fact that these decentralized exchanges are kind of here now and working, because a lot of people out there aren't really too sure about this thing. You know, I believe that 2018 is going to be the year of the year of the decentralized exchange. And so I think this stuff is important and coming up. So I want people to be aware that this is happening now. You know, Coinbase's days are numbered. These decentralized exchanges days are numbered, and we're going to demonstrate some of that stuff here now. And afterwards, have a bit of a discussion about what we've seen here. So take it away, Chris, and go ahead and introduce the product. Let us hear it.
Cool, thanks. So I'm just sharing my screen now. And so people should be able to see now the Bisq client, right? And the first thing you notice is it's a real desktop client. Like, you know, you actually something you download and run on your computer. How novel an idea, right? And I'm just going to show a couple of screens here. I'm going to just show like the workflow of what it takes to place an offer to buy a Bitcoin. But the first thing that you see is a kind of familiar looking offer book or order book. We happen to be looking at BTC Euro, right? 1/2 of every trade on Bisq is Bitcoin. So you're either buying Bitcoin for a cryptocurrency or a national currency, or you're selling Bitcoin for a national currency or a cryptocurrency. And, you know, that's just a couple of, you know, quick points about Bisq. Like, why we exist is fundamentally to provide an on-ramp and an off-ramp for people from the fiat world, from the national currencies world, into crypto, into Bitcoin particularly, right, and out when you need to. We also do crypto, you know, trading, because that's all easy after you've sort of solved the crypto fiat problem. But, you know, and just in terms of like, you know, is this stuff real? Well, you know, we've been up and running. We started the project 4 years ago. It took about 2.5 years to build it. We've been up and running live on Bitcoin mainnet for 20 months now. And, you know, just to give a sense of the progress before I do this quick demo, in April of 2016, when we went live on Bitcoin mainnet, we did about $30,000 worth of Bitcoin trading, right? So whatever the trading pairs were, if you just calculated the US dollar value of the Bitcoin, it was about $30,000. So otherwise known as nothing, right? In April of 2016. And you know, last month we did something like $600,000 worth of Bitcoin trading. Well, 2 days ago, we did $500,000 worth in one day, right? So, you know, we're seeing explosive growth. We've doubled our volumes about every 3.5 months. We've been on an exponential curve. And this month, we've seen it just go through the roof. We've already done over $2 million this month, blowing away our previous records. You know, so every exchange is experiencing this massive growth. We're just like that with whatever slice of the pie we have. But, you know, we're just keeping up with it as it goes. It's pretty exciting. But what I wanted to do here is just quickly show, you know, there's lots of functionality. Bisq is a complete wallet, right? We could spend an hour doing a demo, but I thought it'd be cool to just take a look and see if I'm somebody new to Bitcoin, I want to buy Bitcoin. You could walk in here, you could see all the existing offers. You can see the terms. You know, people can trade, you know, from this guy's doing anywhere from 0.05 Bitcoin to 0.1 Bitcoin and so on. Maybe I like these offers, maybe I want to take this trade, but I could also place my own offer, right? And the way that happens, and you can see the fiat integration, right? And really, I want to drive this point home. The point of Bisq, the core of Bisq, is all about crypto fiat, right? There are no crypto fiat decentralized exchanges out there, and that's what needs to exist. So, you know, you see, I have a SEPA account here. I live in Europe, right? So I'm gonna do a trade. I'm gonna offer to buy Bitcoin. Let's just say, let's actually like do this live. Like the 1,000 people who are watching this, just come take my trade, right? Especially anybody who already has Bisq running, and maybe we can flip back to it and see, see what happens when the trade gets taken later. Could do another screen share afterward. Let's just say I want to buy 0.05 Bitcoin at say 0%. Let me just do that one more time. So create a new offer to buy Bitcoin, 0.05 Bitcoin, let's say. Distance from market price. That's something special in Bisq. We allow people to float their offers a distance from the market price. So you could put in an offer that says, whatever the market price of Bitcoin is, I want my offer to be 1% above that, right? Or even 1% below that if you wanted to undercut the market. What's the security deposit for my buyer? I'm going to make sure that my buyer has to put up at least 0.001 Bitcoin, right? Okay, well, yep, use my lower value. Next step. Okay, it gives me some pop-ups. We'll just cruise past those. I've got to transfer funds from my Bisq wallet, because what's going to happen here is I'm putting in a security deposit. I'm putting, this is the thing. If you want to buy Bitcoin on Bisq, you actually have to have a tiny bit of Bitcoin first, because you have to put in a security deposit. Everything's going to get locked away in a 2 of 3 multi-sig escrow on the Bitcoin blockchain, all non-custodial, right? All fully decentralized. And voila, place my offer to buy Bitcoin, confirm. And at this point, as soon as that publication happens, right, and we're actually publishing Bitcoin transactions here, right? This is really an exchange that's built on top of Bitcoin. It's built of and for and by Bitcoin, right? So this is we think of this as an exchange that's built the way Bitcoin is built, right? It's a peer-to-peer network the way Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer network. It's very similar in many ways. We think this is the missing exchange protocol and application in the Bitcoin ecosystem. And now if you cruise through, if you're somebody coming in and say, I want to sell, if you're coming in and want to say, I want to sell Bitcoin, you would see my offer right here, right? So if anybody wants to take that, I'll see it and I'll let the guys know here, and we can come back and do a screen share and see what it looks like. That's about it for me.
Very cool, Chris. Very cool. So you can see right there that you can actually buy and sell Bitcoin right there in a very decentralized way. Now, of course, the volume in these decentralized exchanges is very low compared to any normal exchange. But this is where things are going to turn around, right? Volume was also low for Bitcoin at one point, and now it's $20,000 a coin almost. So I definitely think that this is going to be important. We're going to discuss more a little bit later, Chris, about why you think that it's so important, because I believe you used the words that this type of fiat to Bitcoin in a decentralized manner needs to exist. So I want to hear a little bit more about that in a minute. But first, let's go to Andrew now and check out his decentralized exchange located at altcoin.io. And I'd like to give him to introduce his product and give a little bit of a description as well as a demo. So go ahead, Andrew. What do you got?
Yeah, well, first, Chris, congrats on all your guys' success with the Bisq network. I think it's pretty much the epitome of what a truly decentralized exchange is, and I am a huge fan of what you guys have built. So congrats on that. So I've made a video that I'll just play because it has some functionality that we're just about to release. So I'll go ahead and share my screen in a second. So right now what we're working on, and tell me, can you guys see my screen okay?
Yep.
So this is what we're working on as our fully decentralized exchange. We're going to be launching this in early 2018. And one of the main things that we're really focusing on comparative to other decentralized exchanges is really two core things. One is instantaneous transactions conducted through atomic swaps, but also a user experience that appeals to multiple type of traders. So whether you're a day trader or an individual that's just starting to get into altcoins for the first time, we really want to have an interface that is easy to understand. It doesn't have a steep learning curve. And what we're really doing as a company is we're learning from other existing decentralized exchanges shortcomings, in my opinion. And I think the biggest opportunity there is...
Sorry, I have to interrupt. Your mic is getting a little bit high. There's a really high-pitched frequency noise coming from your mic. It's only when you talk, so just maybe be aware of that. Maybe you can fix it or adjust it or make sure your mic is plugged all the way in, or just a little adjustment if you could do that. Otherwise, I might try turning your volume down a little bit, but just be aware of that. Just want to interrupt you and let you know. Sorry about that. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, sorry about that. Is it sounding better?
Go ahead and say test 1 2 3.
Test 1 2 3.
Yep, I think it's gone for me. So go ahead and continue. Sorry about that.
Okay, cool. Sorry about that. So what you're seeing here, this is the product that we're going to be releasing in the upcoming weeks. And essentially, the way you can think of this is it's really a decentralized version of Shapeshift. And so we built protocols that allow you to atomically swap any ERC20 token for even a non-ERC20 token. We're going to be adding order matching to this. Right now, it's just peer-to-peer. So basically, how it works is you basically broadcast that you want to atomically swap XYZ token for another token. And these are the two products. So this is kind of the live version that we're working with. And then we also have an alpha version that people can go and play with today. And this is all testnet, so you can just atomically swap just Ethereum and Bitcoin. But this is really just the start of what we're looking to accomplish. And really, again, what we view in the market is just when you're trading, you want your trades to be instantaneous. They need to be things need to basically, when you arrive at an exchange, it needs to be easily understandable. And I think there's a lot of really powerful decentralized exchanges out in the market, but if you look at their daily trading volume, I think it's a good indication that the steep learning curve really is what's holding it back. And so what we really want to do is we want to look at a centralized exchange like Bittrex and build a similar environment, but really focus on the core aspects of what decentralization really can offer to an exchange, which is improved security. That's pretty much the core of everything. And with the exchange that we're working on, by using atomic swaps, you're able to essentially transact any sort of token without these tokens ever leaving your possession at any time. So there's two types of atomic swaps. There's on-chain and there's off-chain. We're currently researching heavily into the off-chain atomic swaps, which will provide essentially instantaneous, private, nearly zero-fee transactions. Those are being conducted through the Lightning Network, if individuals aren't familiar with that, on the Bitcoin side, and also the Raiden network for the Ethereum network. And we're really looking to combine those two together to, again, have an exchange that, one, really performs similar to ones like Bittrex and Poloniex with an improved user experience, but also gives users full confidence that when they trade, they're fully in control of their tokens at all times, and there's really no chance for hacks or them losing their accounts or anything like that. And I think that's extremely important moving forward, because as each month seems to pass, we see more and more centralized exchanges getting hacked. It's like every single month it's happening. Even the biggest centralized exchanges in the world have been hacked. Like Bitfinex was hacked for 125,000 Bitcoins, which, do the math on that, that's a big loss. Even, you know, really secure tools like Shapeshift has been hacked in the past as well for about 500 Bitcoins. And I don't think it's going to stop. I think as, you know, Bitcoin rises in value and these central honey pits grow in size, and with Bittrex doing about 3 billion in daily trading volume, it really just kind of blows my mind that, I mean, if anyone at Bittrex is watching, I would just really, I guess if I had any feedback, maybe update your website from a different WordPress theme to really show that there's some security behind what you're exchanging. And that's what we're really looking to do, is to bring a more secure trading environment, because I think the biggest thing holding cryptocurrency trading back is not having a resilient environment. And what's ironic about what we do as traders is we believe in this concept of decentralization, but we are forced to use centralized exchanges to transact all these different tokens. And so that's something that we're really trying to solve, but doing it in a way that has a beautiful user experience, but still gives you full control of your tokens with every single trade that you make.
So let me ask you then real quick, what would you say the main differences then from altcoin.io and Bisq would be? Would the main things be the fact that you guys do atomic swaps and no fiat, just tokens, or what would you say?
I'd say there's a lot of differences. Well, for one, Bisq is live, so congrats to Chris on, you know, really building out this network and really leading the way. And I also want to take a moment and, you know, mention other decentralized exchanges, AirSwap, BarterDex, you know, Kyber Network, Ether Delta. You know, I think all of us working together, it's really not about who is better and who is doing, like, how am I better than Bisq? I'm not going to answer that question, because I don't think we're better than Bisq. I think we have a different viewpoint. But I guess if I had to give my opinion on Bisq, it's different in a way where it's peer-to-peer, and to appeal to a certain type of trader, you're going to want to have some sort of auto order matching engine to really facilitate fast, instant transactions, and that's typically been seen as a holdup with other decentralized exchanges or just exchanges in general. So it's just really, you know, thinking about what kind of trader do you really want to appeal to? Is it someone who's really interested in, you know, extreme privacy? And if that's the case, Bisq checks all the boxes and takes it 10 steps farther, and the technology behind Bisq is incredible. But if you're looking for an experience that has a user experience that allows you to execute trades faster, it allows you to fully be in control of your tokens at all times, that's kind of the approach that we're looking to take, and that's the type of trader that we're looking to appeal to.
Awesome, awesome. So go ahead, Chris, and let me hear your thoughts on what Andrew said.
Yeah, well, thanks for all the kind words. From our perspective, it's very similar, actually. You know, all the different decentralized exchanges that are out there that you mentioned, and the ones that you didn't, right? Like HODL will come online, I believe next month, right? January of 18 as well, is another, you know, peer-to-peer exchange, not fully decentralized, right? But there's a spectrum of, you know, peer-to-peer, decentralized. There's you know, various levels of, you know, security, privacy, decentralization, censorship resistance, and so on. And one thing is for sure, if I know anything, it's that we don't have the answer and the solution and the product for, you know, the literally hundreds of thousands of people that are coming online every single day touching Bitcoin for the first time. I'm pretty sure Bisq is not the global optimum for all of those people, right? So it's going to take all kinds of experimentation. We totally welcome the experimentation.
Chris,
and, you know, yeah, go ahead.
Say though is what you guys have done at Bisq is I view your decentralized exchange as if it is basically decentralized to the point in which Bitcoin is itself. So I just want to mention that as a notion of just respect in terms of how you're building it, because it really is impressive just how you've been able to decentralize pretty much every aspect of the platform. And I don't know, I'm just a fan, so sorry.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It's pretty awesome. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, I can say, I can just say, you know, the kind of elevator pitch for Bisq, right? Just us on our own terms, not really comparing it to anything else, is, you know, it's not a coincidence that the first prototype of Bisq showed up a couple of weeks or so after Mt. Gox failed, right? That was not accidental. That was, you know, because we suffered greatly in Mt. Gox, right? We wanted to, you know, we all knew it was a bad idea. And then, okay, well, let's do something about it, right? And that's when Manfred started, you know, cutting code on this thing. And you know, and the idea behind Bisq is what if you took a no compromises approach to security, right? I.e., the safety of your funds, keeping true to Bitcoin's ideal of be your own bank, right? Trust no one. You don't own the keys, you don't own the Bitcoin, right? Exchange transactions should be the same way. So security, right? Privacy. Every centralized exchange, or most of them, are, you know, we all know, people listening to this, you know, AML, KYC are, you know, requiring people to, you know, give sensitive personal information. We think of the honeypot with storing your Bitcoin on these exchanges as a kind of obvious problem these days. That's just too great a lure, right? You know, for people to come in and steal that, and people do. The beatings have and will continue until people learn that lesson. What's less obvious is that we're creating just as much a honeypot by putting all of our personal information on these centralized services. There's absolutely no value whatsoever for individual people trying to buy and sell Bitcoin to send their passport and their electricity bill or whatever it is that it takes to prove that you are who you are. That doesn't give you anything, right? So what if we took a no compromises approach to privacy, right? So security and privacy. And even if we nail 10 out of 10 on security and privacy in a decentralized exchange, it's all for naught. It doesn't matter unless that exchange is properly resistant to censorship, right? If that exchange can be shut down in any way, then who cares, right? If Bitcoin could have been shut down, it would have been shut down, and we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. So, these are the kind of three pillars, right? And of course, decentralization is the way to achieve those things, right? Proper decentralization at every level. And what we're, proud of so far is that we think we've actually built something that is properly decentralized at the technical level, right? But nothing is properly decentralized at the human level, at the level of decision making, management, funding, governance, all of that stuff. Projects start out with one or two people, just like Bisq did, and then they become decentralized over time. Anything that's properly decentralized, like Bitcoin, followed that same trajectory, and that's where we are now, right? And I won't get deep into this now, but that's why we've created, designed and created the Bisq DAO. That's why we're in the middle of rolling out the Bisq DAO. As a way to decentralize all the human factors of running such an exchange. So we're in the middle of that, of fulfilling, that third pillar of censorship resistance. We're not there yet, right? But we're hopefully on our way, and that's why our big mission right now is to grow the community of contributors, which maybe we could get into more later. But
yeah, and that's awesome. I mean, this is really interesting because this is basically. This is why it's important. We do not want to continue to store people's information in these centralized silos. You see, the centralization answer to the hacks that are continuous on these exchanges is to let's just KYC them more. Let's just get more anti-money laundering laws in there. No problem. That'll fix it. And of course, we know that it doesn't. So this is the decentralized answer here, is to be able to completely remove any personal information. Because technically on the internet, you don't need to. I don't need to. All we need to know is that Bitcoin works. And if we both trust Bitcoin, then Bitcoin is what's going to be able to be the trust that is in the trustlessness of these type of decentralized exchanges. And it's really important to get this across to people, because we're going to continue to have more hacks. There's going to be hundreds of millions of dollars more lost until we start moving more towards this direction, more towards the decentralized exchange direction. And so I'm going to get Carter's thoughts real quick, and then we'll go to Gabriel. So Carter, what is your thoughts so far on the discussion? Kind of a lot has happened, of course, since you've spoken last. So what is your thoughts on the products, on the discussion of decentralized exchanges, and maybe the trends that we can maybe see next year?
Yeah, I think it's great. I think it's awesome to see these kind of products being built. And I think I come from a little bit of a different standpoint not only as an investor, but as somebody who has a big community of people, somebody who talks to thousands of people every day. And while I think that there's a few different value props of decentralization. I think that there's censorship resistance. I think that there's bypassing the KYC side of it. And then there's also just the security of, exchange going down. I personally, at least in the short term, I think that liquidity is the name of the game. And I think that while decentralization of exchanges is important, if there's no liquidity, it will not attract people, except for those people that already understand everything about the tech. They understand the importance of privacy, which is a pretty small population even within the crypto community these days. And this is taking a very broad look at the millions and millions of people that have come into crypto in the last 12 months. But I think that you do, on some level, need to cater to what people want, and also realize the custodial services that exchanges provide right now solves a huge problem. A lot of people do not want to be their own bank, even if it is what crypto promises people they can have. Like, it's not always what people necessarily want. So I think that solving that problem, and I think you can do that from decentralization by creating protocol layers with decentralized platforms, by using atomic swaps or any of these programs, but allowing people to layer that into a product or a service that then can have a marketing funnel built on top of it, so that you can get this decentralized functionality, the trustlessness, the censorship resistance, but also have the services and the support that people may need to be able to actually use them. And then I think on the bigger picture, I'm a huge fan of decentralization, but I also know that the further it gets from what the government requires, the faster it's going to get shut down. I mean, I had lunch with the guy who gave a congressional hearing for ICOs, and he's like, we're trying to push the limits as much as we can, but the further out we go, the more they're gonna just crush this. And so it's a balance. And I always like to say, you know, it's not really about what I want or what I believe in. It's what's going to make this work. And that's kind of the constant battle that I find with the true promise of cryptocurrency and decentralization.
Absolutely great points. It's really true. Let me just say something real quick. And then we'll go to Andrew and then Gabriel. Basically, yeah, I mean, right now we do have a bit of a liquidity issue with these decentralized exchanges, obviously, right? It is early days, but this is why I'm pushing this now, because we have hundreds of thousands of people signing up right now at Coinbase and Bitstamp and these exchanges. And so we're going to have, you know, it's going to be years before these decentralized exchanges have that type of liquidity and stuff, and that's fine. But so I just wanted to kind of make this aware. And remember, most people don't really know what they want. For example, until it's kind of presented to them, until the option is presented to them. And I think that if they had the actual, if everything was as easy, if being your own bank was as easy as just running an app, I think everybody would want to do it. But as you know, right, but as we've discussed here right now, I mean, you know, this stuff is, this tech is bleeding edge. It's early days, and it's not consumer level ready yet at all. And but absolutely great points, Carter. And I'm just hoping that you know, videos like these will inspire people to be able to make that a reality, be able to make the liquidity come to these decentralized exchanges, and tell other people about the importance of trying to get rid of this whole idea of KYC and AML in money and really in services in general. We just don't need that type of centralization or that type of risk of all that siloed information anymore. It's just it's bad for everybody. So Gabriel, oh sorry, Andrew. I think you had a quick point, Andrew, and then to Gabriel. Sorry, Gabriel.
Yeah, I just wanted to hop in and let me know if I start cutting out again. But when it comes to liquidity, the way that I really view liquidity is more traders, more volume, more liquidity. And I think with decentralized exchanges, when you look at, say, Ether Delta, you'll see about 5 million in daily trading volume. But when you look at Bittrex, you see about 3 billion. And what I attribute that to is really a knowledge education gap. So if you think of the technology adoption curve, I think what we're starting to move in towards is you have the innovators, the early adopters, and the mass majority. And I think everyone who is in support of decentralization or is in support of decentralized exchanges really needs to help just the entire community educate the market on the benefits, where there's no server downtime or hacks. You're fully in control of your tokens at all times. You can even trade diverse tokens that may not be available on Bittrex. And you can trade anonymously. And these are things that I think a lot of traders don't really understand. And the more that we really educate the market and become thought leaders on really how important this is to the traders that are just entering the market for the first time this year, and really understanding what is the difference between a centralized exchange and a decentralized exchange, and the risks involved with a centralized exchange comparative to a decentralized exchange, I think that's what's really going to start moving more volume away from Bittrex or PolonioNext or whomever over to a decentralized exchange. And what really furthers that point in my mind was when PolonioNext was having issues in, I believe, around August, we saw a massive shift from people using PolonioNext moving over to Bittrex. And in my mind, these are kind of like the only two shops in town. They're the only place that has the amount of tokens that you
Andrew,
want to trade.
Okay. Hold on a second. I really want to jump in here and say a few things before we go down this road any further. I'd like to address some of the things that have already come up before we expand the conversation even further. Let's focus in here.
Go ahead.
I'm going to go. Thank you very much. I'm going to go. I'm going to go backward from where we are now in time and address some of the things that have been said because I think that the audience might get misled, probably unintentionally, because just we have limited time here, and you say something and things can be interpreted in multiple ways. So I think that was touching on some interesting points, and I think that you expressed them poorly, my friend. We have to be really careful when we talk about things like this, that we don't confuse our audience. There's a lot of new listeners. We've got over 1,100 viewers right now. And when you say something like, well, there was some ICO guys in front of Congress, and we have to be careful that they don't just crush us. That is quite the opposite philosophy of Bitcoin. Bitcoin's philosophy is, we are going to create this thing that cannot be stopped. We're going to create free open source software that is so decentralized, there's no head to cut off on the snake, and it is immortal. That's the goal of Bitcoin. And so a project like Bisq, which Andrew rightly pointed out, is decentralized in the same manner as Bitcoin, where there's peer-to-peer client-side software that's uncensorable. What you have is a situation where they cannot crush us. That's quite a different thing now. But on the other flip side of the coin, which is a perfectly valid point, centralized services, custodial services, private, centralized, companies that are for-profit absolutely have a place in the ecosystem. And I completely agree with that. I also agree that there's a big spectrum, right? So there's completely fucking hardcore decentralized chainsaw, machine gun, get off my lawn, Bitcoin. And then there's all the way on the other side, which is, hi, we're issuing a debt token. And we might be going afoul with our company with 6 people in Baltimore. We might be going afoul of the SEC. That's barely decentralized, right? And then there's everything in between. So and that's a point that Andrew was making before too, that I'd like to also agree with. Bisq is extremely decentralized. Really, no one can stop you from trading Bitcoin and altcoins for fiat on Bisq. It would be nearly impossible to stop you to do that. Whereas altcoin.io might be a little bit easier to nudge or do things to, because it's not quite as hardcore. It's built on the web, right? It's built in a browser. It's dependent on several other technologies besides Bitcoin. Like Bisq is only dependent on Bitcoin and like distributed hash tables, which are like a highly vetted, very stable technology. But something like altcoin.io. Actually, Andrew, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay,
we can all hear you.
Okay, great. Because I was going to ask Andrew a question here, and I noticed he took out his earbud. So I'm looking at the chart for altcoin.io and seeing, you guys are using React. You're dependent on a JavaScript database, which, a lot of people use React, and it's very, very widespread. But, there could be issues with it. And, IPFS is a very cutting-edge technology. You're dependent on it. Raiden, very brand new technology. As new as Lightning Network, basically. You're dependent on that. So, Bisq is a much more purist, but of course, it's not going to have the agility of a platform with so many pre-built components where you'll be able to add features very quickly, whereas Bisq might have to take more time because they're so decentralized. So I totally agree with both Andrew and Carter that there's room in the ecosystem for a big spectrum of different types of products and services. One thing that Carter touched upon that I'd like to kind of clarify is that Bisq's structure absolutely allows for atomic swap, instant atomic swaps to be built, Lightning integration, and this is for Andrew too. An order book functionality. These can all be created in a decentralized fashion. And most importantly, something Carter brought up is the marketing side. Bisq actually has, and I interviewed Manfred Carr, so you guys, after this video, go and check out my interview with him from earlier this year. He's the other co-founder of Bisq, previously known as BitSquare. Those guys are launching a DAO. They're going to launch a token, and the token is done in a totally decentralized way once it launches, and that will be funding not only development but also marketing and social media and all sorts of other stuff. So there are ways to do this. It is slower, but I just want to point out that those things are possible. And then lastly, I wanted to ask Andrew what that logo under React is, because there's a piece of the puzzle there. So the IPFS is the network storage. Then there's your order matching network, and on top is React for the front end. What's the thing that connects with the Raiden, which is the Ethereum instant transaction network and reserves of Ethereum? So you guys are using Ethereum. I think that's really risky. I personally would never use that product because I think Ethereum is completely fucked. Maybe they'll fix some of their issues, but I definitely wouldn't trust it for an exchange. But in any case, I'm just curious what that crazy logo there is, the second piece down.
Go ahead, Andrew.
Sure. Which one are you referring to?
The one below React. It's connected to native reserves and Raiden on the chart there, just on your homepage.
Oh, so the peg reserves. Are you talking about w3.js?
Yes. What's that? W3.
W3.js is basically a JavaScript library that allows us to connect with smart contracts. So that is a service developed by the Ethereum Foundation. And we're also going to be updating this model as well, because one thing that we've been doing that really kind of separates us from other exchanges coming out, I guess you could say, is...
Wait. You didn't tell us what it does.
W3.js?
Yeah, what does it do?
So W3.js basically helps connect the entire system. So when you look at our Atomic Swap wallet, it's really built off W3.js. And it's a JavaScript library that allows us to basically communicate with smart contracts and then run them through the system, so we can process transactions. And it kind of sits at the core of basically how we're able to push transactions through our decentralized exchange, if that makes sense.
Okay. So yeah, it's basically running in the user's browser, and it allows the connection with the Ethereum blockchain, essentially sending in the Ethereum network, sending transactions and smart contracts back and forth with the browser.
It's basically a library for interfacing with smart contracts. We're really excited about it because obviously smart contracts are a big component of just Ethereum. And it was developed by an individual named Fabian, who works at the Ethereum Foundation. So we're really excited about that technology coming out. But just to put it in simple one sentence, it's a library that just interfaces with the smart contracts that we send.
Yeah, and I think this is. I'm really glad. Actually, Andrew, you have some feedback. If you want to mute. Might use headphones, but the headphones, of course, was causing the high pitch. So we'll see what we can do. But Andrew, yeah, I think this is really great to have both Bisq and altcoin.io on, because there really are two ends of this spectrum, as Gabriel was describing. We have one that's just completely hardcore, decentralized, not dependent on anything, and then we have this amazing user experience that's in the web browser that's just like the bleeding edge, latest and the greatest stuff, be able to trade the latest tokens with this pretty user interface. So I think that's really cool that we have these different ideas, and I'm really glad that they both can be on today. And there's going to be a lot more of these types of decentralized exchanges, with everything in between. And so I think this is just the beginning. I'd like to get Carter's comments on here now. It's been a minute since we've heard from him. Carter, let me ask you, what do you think about the topic so far and these two products?
I mean, yeah, I love it. I think that decentralized exchanges, I think it falls exactly into the future of what not only cryptocurrency, but what Bitcoin is built on, of censorship resistance, of everything. And the way I always look at these kind of situations is, how do we get there? What's the real, when you go and ask the market, the masses of people individually, like, would you actually use this? Instead of saying like, oh, well, we need to educate all these people, we need to do all this, people need to do all this work so that they value it the same way we do. That's just not going to happen. Historically, it never will happen like that. You have to kind of meet consumers where they already are, and then start leading them to water that way. So I think as long as decentralized exchanges realize that you can have both, but it's very difficult when you say, this is how it is, you should find this valuable, that typically doesn't.
Do you have any thoughts on maybe the spectrum of the different kinds of decentralized exchanges, like we've seen here today, where you have one that's just completely privacy focused and then one that's completely feature focused, or anything like that?
No, I think it's good to have both, because I think that there's so many players or so many people that value different things. I think there's a lot of people that value like very deep privacy, and I think there's people that want the Ether Delta type. You know, you can choose one of 900 tokens to exchange quickly or easily. So I think having both of those is helpful, and as long as it caters to what people want and what they will use, I think it's a home run. I think it'll have a lot of great things happen.
Awesome, awesome. So does anybody else then have anything to add before we go ahead and go to the outros? Andrew, anybody? Nope. Okay. Awesome. Then, guys, thanks again so much for joining us. We had over 1,200 live viewers here. We had a great time demoing these products, and I'm really excited, looking forward to these products launching more features, and then, of course, looking forward to altcoin.io. I believe launching early next year. So that's going to be really awesome. Let's go ahead and ask these guys where we can find out more information about them. Andrew, please tell us where we can find out more about you and altcoin.io.
Yeah, just our website, altcoin.io. You can also, we have a live alpha version of our Atomic Swap wallet available at swap.altcoin.io, or you can preview our exchange user experience UX that we're constantly tweaking and looking for feedback at preview.altcoin.io. But I'd also like to just say that really to further this industry along, we're really excited to see all the decentralized exchange projects come out. So again, congrats to Chris on everything you've accomplished, and looking forward to really marching along this mission together.
Absolutely awesome. Thanks again, Andrew, for sharing your time. Really appreciate everybody sharing their time here today, and for the audience. And this is just amazing information. I'm excited for the future. Carter, please tell us where we can find more about you and your YouTube channel.
Yeah, if you go on YouTube, you just find Coin Mastery. Just search for it, or go to coinmastery.com/YouTube. That'll take you right there. On Twitter, it's Carter Thomas. And yeah, daily videos all about crypto and trying to help the masses get involved in this incredible revolution.
Heck yes, that's what we're here for, people. The global decentralized financial renaissance. That's what we're all here, and that's just really great to hear that people like Andrew and people like Chris are a part of building that amazing future. So, Chris, where can we find out more about you and Bisq?
Yeah, people can go to Bisq. That's BISQ.network. That's the website where you can read up about it, but mainly that's where you download the app, install it, run it on your local desktop, and you're good to go. We have a Slack channel. You can find the link to that and get an invite. We're on Twitter at Bisq_network. And yeah, I'll just say one last comment here, which is that when it comes to decentralized exchanges, like all decentralized technologies, we're playing a long game, and we best play it together, right? It's the same story that we've seen play out over and over and over again, like with the internet, right? There were private internets, wanted to be private internets, and they got crushed by the actual internet, right? As loosely formed protocols and standards came together, right? IETF style and all kinds of different collaboration, W3C style, all that different kind of collaboration. That's the opportunity that lies before us now, right? What Bisq is three things, right? It's a desktop application. That's the obvious part. It's a peer-to-peer network, a lot like Bitcoin's. That's kind of obvious too when you look at it. What's less obvious is the protocol, right? What Bisq is a protocol for peer-to-peer, direct peer-to-peer exchange of crypto to crypto and crypto to fiat, right? And that's the thing that hasn't existed before. And that isn't proprietary to Bisq. That's all free and open source software. And you can think of Bisq's protocol today for trading crypto to fiat in a decentralized way as essentially a prototype, a working prototype of that kind of protocol. We're very interested, very excited about opening that up, right? Having other decentralized exchanges participate in that. That's all possible, especially as Lightning comes online and all these different decentralized exchanges. Why not work together? I think that's going to happen in any case, right? And we're in no rush, right? Especially here at Bisq, by the way, we're in no rush. This is not an ICO. We're not taking a bunch of people's money up front. It's a product that makes money all day long, right? People pay to use Bisq. So we can sit here and just take one step after the other, right? So, but really, we're excited.
Chris, that's awesome. That's definitely the opposite of move fast and break things. But sorry, go ahead, Andrew. Something.
Yeah. I was just going to say, Chris, I'm going to reach out to you after this because I'm of the same viewpoint. I think every decentralized exchange, the more that we can just put our heads together to really build the platform that everyone deserves in this community, the better. And we're also not doing an ICO where we have no plans to. So yeah, I'm definitely going to be reaching out to you because I think what makes this community so special is just how open people are to helping each other with open source technologies. And yeah, let's connect after this if you're interested.
Nice. Cheers.
That's what we do right here on the World Crypto Network, people. We are connecting people all the time with
That's right.
community, connecting one after another. So that is just great to hear you guys. Like as Chris said, I mean, we have to do this together. You know, whether you're in Bitcoin or Ethereum, your projects will overlap at one point because we want to build this internetwork, right, of blockchains, and this is going to be the future. And it's really, really important that we don't have too much animosity towards each other. I know that Gabriel, of course, hates Ethereum, but we all, at some point, we're going to have to all work together, and it's just going to be great to see that everybody participate in this global financial renaissance. Gabriel, go ahead. Where can we find out more about you?
Well, you know, the best place to find me is on Twitter. You know, you go for a walk, you're waiting in line at the store, and just bring up Twitter. You know, so I'm always on there, and there's so much crypto knowledge and wisdom to be gained there. You know, I highly recommend that you curate your bubble and don't allow any stupid people in it, and you'll find wisdom. You know, and hopefully I can help you, you know, hook up with some other people, just like we do here on the World Crypto Network, where we just bring the love and show everybody how many commonalities we have. You know, as much as I you know, diss certain projects that I don't think are good or whatever, things can turn around, things can change, and what Chris is saying is so incredible. I just really love your approach of you know, consistent, solid, you know, progress one step at a time. And what that means to me is kind of realizing the vision of what Carter was saying, which is that you know, decentralized choices are something you can bring up really quick, turn it around, make a lot of money, and then after a certain amount of time, the decentralized alternatives become so powerful, like a tidal wave, and it's just millions and millions of people, you know, on the internet, on Bitcoin, and with decentralized protocols. You know, for example, just blue sky thinking here. You know, all the research that altcoin.io is doing into its order matching database, for example, which Bisq has just sort of just started to work on. I think, you know, it's just a pretty early stage. You guys could be way farther along, and you know, you guys could totally just put nearly your entire system right on top of the Bisq protocol, and you would just be an interoperable thing where you could do all sorts of stuff just internally on altcoin.io. But there's also a bridge to the network where all the decentralized exchanges and even centralized exchanges could all begin to talk to each other, and then they can leverage their best skills, which are UX, customer service, you know, like Carter was saying, making great points about that, you know, making it easy, making it, you know, making security a little bit easier, or just being a you know, dependable third party perhaps, and that way we can work together on all these different types of ideas, and everyone can be focused on what their talents are, whether it's, you know, base layer stuff, UX, design, customer service, everything like that. So I think we've got a really, really bright future. Bitcoin's rise has brought us to yet another level, you know, of awareness for this system, and I don't think too many more 20x moves are going to be needed before this thing really snowballs. So great to meet all of you guys today, except for Vortex, who I already know he can screw himself.
Absolutely, you guys. It was great having you guys on, and just a great point, Gabriel, that, you know, Bisq is a protocol as well. So if you are a UX team like Andrew has over there at altcoin.io, you could just you know, write your software to run over the top of the protocol. And it's like, in addition to what you guys are doing now. So it's just great. We're gonna watch all this interoperability, and then when you slap Lightning above that, it's going to get really, really, really fun. So I'm really excited for the future, you guys. 2018 is going to be huge. Make no mistake. We got the $500 billion this year. We're going to get way, way higher next year. So thanks again, guys, so much for joining. Really, really appreciate the time. We really, again, want to thank our guests so much, guys. Thank you so much for joining us and donating your time here to the audience. And thanks again to our 1,200 plus live viewers. Had a great time. Thanks to everybody in the chat who's just running around, all sorts of fun stuff, talking about how I sound very interesting at 2x speed. I'm sure I do. I thank you guys again so much. We will be back again next Sunday at 12 p.m. Pacific, right here on the World Crypto Network. So again, guys, thanks so much for joining. Until next time, keep talking
Bitcoin.
We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, everybody.